Yeah, central banks, Emefiele and the other members of the Monetary Policy Committee, of course, decided yesterday to hand the economy what you call a temporary monetary policy easing, which took everyone by surprise. So let's take this to the marketplace. Temple Ashaju is back here into the conversation around this. This was the big story. Well, a number of folks says they were surprised at the rate cuts, which, of course, brings to an end about 2 years of hawkish, what you call a very tight monetary policy cycle within the Nigerian space. Temple Ashaju, get back into this conversation, our business correspondent. Temple, what are you hearing from the floor about, or the marketplace about this surprise rate cut?
I think for a lot of the traders here, they actually had predicted that there will be, the MPC will just hold the rates again around the cash reserve ratio, the asymmetric corridor, the MPR, and of course all the metrics that measures the monetary policy in any economy. But they also had said that it is expected that by now we should also reduce our MPR by any amount of any percentage points or any basis points that we can actually imagine. Because again, if you look at what happened in Ghana the previous month, that was in January 19th, Ghana actually had to reduce its own MPR by some percentage points as well. Even though we know that that eventually affected its economy negatively, it started mounting some pressure on its currency. Of course, we've also seen how they are trying to manage that. But it was expected here in the Nigerian market as well. But given the peculiar nature of the Nigerian economy, a lot of traders, a lot of analysts here had said that we're due for a rate cut, actually, because we've seen moderation in the FX and the foreign exchange market. We've also seen moderation in our inflation rate, around 11%. And of course, the fact that our external reserves have also risen some 43 basis points as at some medium part of the month of February. So they had said that this is expected. This will also be some kind of a positive sense. It will drive some kind of confidence in this economy and drive up the sentiment in the market here, especially for a lot of the companies around here. If you take a look at the PMI as well, the Purchasing Managers Index of this country has also been very, very wonderful in recent times, as released by the central bank itself. Even the ones that are also being released by independent research analysts, talk about the ones produced by FBN Holdings as well as Stanbic IBTC, they've all reflected positive numbers, which goes beyond the threshold, which is a 50 reading in the market. So it was expected in the market, and though it was a major surprise for a lot of them, as at the point the CBN governor was reeling out the decisions and considerations of the MPC members yesterday, was already close to the end of the market. But the moment that news broke, some investors were able to quickly change their minds as to some of the sell down that they had. So we're expecting to have the effect of that playing out in the markets much better today. We should see some kind of positive reaction eventually. But the concern of some of these traders now is that we do hope that it won't affect the pricing state of things in the economy, as we have seen it played out in Ghana, which is just our neighbor here. They are wondering why the surprise. Is this a Greek gift or something? Because some are saying that this might be the last MPC meeting that the Governor Godwin Emefiele will be attending. So it is not really worrisome, but it is a bit of a concern that they're just looking at what will be the effect eventually? How will the CBN be able to manage it? Because again, we've seen reduction in the open market operations as carried out regularly by the central bank, Bosun.
Yeah, I think a tempo has been a very mixed one here. Everybody's looking at it. The central banks around the world are taking very critical decisions. Just a few are trying to raise rates to fight deflation. But if you look, the Kenya, South Africa central banks will also be holding meetings this week. They'll be taking some decisions. Some folks think Ghana would also still cut interest rates following what they did in January. We're looking how to stimulate economies around the world with the talks around looming global economic recession perhaps starting from the U.S. this year or next. Today, the European Central Bank is also having a meeting. Mario Draghi, leaving in October, is also a meeting. They're having some decisions today. Some folks are already asking for at least a 50 basis point cut in the Eurozone by the ECB as well, which is similar to Nigeria's yesterday. So if you look at the trend, you might begin to say, look, the decision yesterday by Nigeria's central bank to cut rates by 50 basis points is in line with some other central banks around the world looking at the need to stimulate growth. So it's not looking as if yesterday's decision was an exception if you look at what is happening elsewhere. Because, again, growth is what every economy wants to see. The world economy is, I think central bankers, perhaps they make phone calls to each other and say, look, what are you doing in your jurisdiction? What are you doing in your jurisdiction? We can't allow this recession to happen. 2018, 2000 and 2009, and then 2019, 2020, just about 10 years after, what can we do to avoid this recession ahead? So I'm sure between developed markets, emerging markets, frontier markets, perhaps phone calls, whatever, emails going around as to how can everybody hold forth and try to make sure that we avoid a recession. I think that's a very good one there. Temple, but of course, we'll check back with you a little bit later on the program to check in today's trading day. Thank you very much. Temple Ashaju, our business correspondent from the Nigerian Stock Exchange, our studios in downtown